Good afternoon and welcome to Link. Welcome to part 2 of our fabulous 50th year anniversary celebration of the East.
Yes.
Welcome back, Dr. Segun and
Thank
Sister
you.
Malika.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Before
us
we
again.
say another word about the East, I'd like to say a few words about you. Now, Dr. Segun, how does somebody get a PhD? Did anybody hand that to you? What happened? How'd you do it?
I had to do a lot of hard work. I received my PhD at Temple University under Dr. Malika Asante, our preeminent scholar, activist, and I commuted after work. I did an interesting topic as my PhD, so I was driven by that also. That was on the African migration of blacks from the U.S. to Haiti, 1824 to 25. So that I learned about in undergrad. And I said, what? I didn't know anything about this. And so I wanted to do research on that. And so that was part of what drove me to that topic. There were 3 things I wanted to do my PhD on. The other 2 was the East and Dr. Karanga. So I thought I'd do that one because the other 2 I'd get to, but I haven't gotten to them yet, like I want to yet. So, but you know, it was a challenge. But when you really engaged in something that you care about, you don't even realize how much energy you're putting into it. You know you're just putting energy into it. And so it's like working at the East. I look at Black news, different issues of Black news, and I say to myself, wow, we did a lot.
Yes.
We did a lot, because when you go through those pages, you see all these activities we engaged in the community. But besides that, we working every day, running a school, running a daycare, running a store. You know, it's phenomenal.
Right.
So, you know, but as I was saying also, it's a sense of history.
Yes.
And we have to understand the importance of history, because you get your vision from your understanding of yourself, not you individually, but you collectively. And we say that, you know, you have to understand yourself on the cultural 7 areas of culture. And one of those areas, first one is history. Second one is spirituality, religion. Third one is social organization, then political organization, economic organization, creative production, art, music, literature. And then from that, you get a healthy collective consciousness we call ethos. So we have to understand how that can help you and drive you in life, you know? And sometimes you look at people that are wiped out, but they reemerge because they have a deep sense of history of who they are. So the physical is devastating, but the mental is more important. And Black people have done that, but we still don't have the kind of self-awareness that we can totally transform things the way we should.
Sister Malika, you want to share a bit of your background with us?
Okay. Well, wow. It's been a long journey for me, being raised as an activist with parents who were really dedicated to the movement, to the Black arts, to the Black Power movement, civil rights, human rights struggle. And being raised in that environment has really enlightened me to do what I do today. Right now, I am in the publishing mode of carrying on this legacy through words, through books, and sharing with it as much as possible. Initially, I did come through the public school system. My parents, took us out, brought us to the East for Uhuru Sasa, that is, finished there. And later on, I went to NYU, New York University, and received my bachelor's degree. I'm a master's candidate now. I'll get back to that when I can get back to it. It's just that I am immersed right now in publishing the works of my father, republishing them, and just sharing the world with my own very own book, my memoirs. It's called Intimate with the Ultimate, which is a tribute to the family as well as all of these great people who had a strong impact on the family. Minister Malcolm, and we must. It would be remiss of me to not mention those that stood with these great leaders, like Minister Malcolm, Sister Betty Shabazz, Amina Baraka, Yusuf Iman, very own father, Yusuf Iman, and my mother, Dara Iman, who was very strong in helping, supporting, and being a part of the movement. I call them the queens of the grassroots movement because they were right there. And that was inspirational to me in being who I am as an African woman today. This I share with my family, my daughters, my son, and my grands right now, and putting this information in print for them to have for the longevity of our generations I feel is most needed, necessary, and I'm just proud to do it.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Our audience is looking at images, and I just want the audience to know that all of this is work of the East.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All of this came out of the East.
Yes.
All of this came out of the East. We talked about music, we talked about the arts, we talked about the academics. Mm-hmm. I don't know if people know about the newspaper you had, the great newspaper you had.
Black News. I'm proud to be one of the persons that was working at Black News as a typesetter. Mm-hmm. It was a joy to be a part of that. I was taught typesetting by Sister Akila Mashariki, who was the head typesetter there at that time. And the Black News covered everything. This is how the East was able to branch out with its teachings to the nation, throughout the world, because it covered a whole lot of things, not only just culturally, but politically. It did not stagnate itself being a local newspaper. I remember the mailings we had overnight, staying overnight to get that newspaper out, to different countries and different cities.
And even prisoners.
Yes.
We had a special mailing. That was our correspondent, and he passed recently, Brother M. Samaji Weusi.
Absolutely.
He was our Black News correspondent. I was fortunate enough to be the last editor of Black News.
Yes.
We had 4 editors. Mm-hmm. We had Jim Williams, Salik Mwando, Basim Chowie, and myself.
Right.
And Black News also, people talk about the Black Panther newspaper and its artists, but our artist was awesome at the East also.
I have to call Jim Dyson's name.
Jim Dyson.
I have to call Jim Dyson.
Segun Ogundipe, your colleague, Ogundipe Fayomi was one of the great artists at the East and still doing great art.
Right.
We had Malika, we had Menelik, we had Shukuru, we had Asiba Tubahachi. Asiba Tubahachi went on to become the first woman to head up the Native American nation in Long Island, but she did work at the East. She said she came into her consciousness at the East as a
Wonderful.
Native American history and culture. So, Black News and the artists there were awesome. And the paper went all over the world. It went all over the world. And
Yes.
it covered various topics throughout its 15, 20-year existence.
Local and international topics. So
I was just giving my mark. We're going to be wrapping up soon, but I
Okay.
can't wrap up until there are a half dozen questions I haven't even asked you yet, but I got a question of my own.
yes.
When you say the paper ended in whatever year you just said it ended in, I declare this year the beginning of a new news. I love to tell my students, don't use the word the media because you're the media. Now, what passes for the media, I'm sorry, I'm not going to concede to anybody's network. I'm not going to say that's the media. I have this show that I've done for over 20
Yes.
years. That's the media.
Yes.
And whoever's looking at this show right now, there's somebody, because Link is a family show.
Yes.
Families look at shows, at my show on Sunday together. And in that audience out there, somewhere there is some child, some person, some writer, some journalist, somebody with that vision you had or you had. Everybody has their own vision.
Yes.
I mean, we all are born with that light inside of us.
Absolutely.
And I declare that right now we are going to have a new media, a new print, just like your newspaper inspired so many people.
Yes.
And out in California, the Panthers newspaper,
Yes.
and all of the newspapers
Yes.
that have come up since then. I mean, there are kids who are sitting up here who think that only thing they can do is text and talk stuff.
Right, right.
And have, I mean, I'm not putting them down. I love you children. I know you don't have anything better to talk about. I probably didn't talk about too much more when I was your age, but it's time for us all to upgrade.
Yes.
And it's time for us all to raise our standards,
Yes.
you know? And they definitely have more tools than we ever thought about having.
Absolutely.
I mean, they can communicate to anybody in the world
Absolutely.
in seconds. They don't have to print out anything.
Exactly.
So we're gonna revive that tradition. We're gonna revive all of that, and that was my little bit. I got to get to some of these other questions. I want to know what was the organizational structure of the East?
Wow.
Quickly, because I
Well,
got.
we had a leadership council.
Okay.
Initially, like most other organizations, it was patriarchal. But then in the first few years, by the early or mid 70s, women were on the leadership council. We called it the Family Leadership Council during that time. And, a lot of how we, as Sister Malika indicated, we adopted a lot of structure from protocol from Mary Baraka, and he, of course, got it from Dr. Maulana Karenga, and so it was Kawaida protocols, and Kawaida structure. And so it was very disciplined, very respectful in how we had to address each other and speak to each other in meetings. You couldn't just bark at each other. You had to have express, I appreciate what you said, if I understand correctly, which is what we needed. So you reflect on the person and you know that talking to another person, because one of the things we say is that in Kawaida is that, a lot of times we want to make a point, but in making the point, we lose the person. And we say the person is more important than the point. You can make the point anytime, but if you lose the person, they don't hear you when you're making the point.
Well, if you destroy during the process.
There you go.
I mean, why we got to
That's it.
fight? Can't we talk? I mean, I
Exactly.
don't mind debating with you all night long, but what do we have to fight about?
Well, and I also just want to point out, even though he said about the East structure, organizational structure was initially patriarchal, there was a sense of unity in terms of the sisters being in leadership. There was a strong sisterhood amongst the East.
Still exists today.
Exactly. And a lot of these sisters are still working. A lot of the sisters have advanced in their own careers and in whatever it was, whether it was education, academic, or whether it was the cultural arts. A lot of the sisters that were there in the leadership positions, when we had the East Kitchen during the jazz, we had the sisters there that were working hard and maintaining and keeping up the East family, the East Kitchen, everything. So I just like to, just make sure that we understand that it wasn't men and then women underneath. It was a strong brotherhood and sisterhood that worked together.
Parallel.
Yes. And I think that's what really made the East strong in terms of its longevity for as long as it did last.
It was families.
Because you had dedicated people there, and the sisterhood held it up for the most part, I would say.
We all of us are affected by issues in the larger society, too. So issues that between males and females.
Right.
We're not going to start a whole brand new conversation, but I'm glad you made that point. Thank you so much for that, both of you. Tell me now what role the East played in the politics of Brooklyn. Quickly, though, because it was a lot.
Well, we not only did members run for office, but we supported many candidates. I first got involved working political campaigns. That was because that was my interest. I wanted to see an independent Black political party. So I came there asking how can I get involved in that, and I worked on Van campaign. I worked with Sonny Carson on King Cave, Haven Waller campaigns in the area I grew up in. We went up, at times we went to Buffalo to work on Arthur Eves' campaign, Congress people. Even before, today, people still involved in these political activities. And we were supportive of Pan-African struggles. We were strong in the anti-apartheid movement, African Liberation Day Support Committee. We worked with national groups in political, the Congress of African People, Council of Independent Black Institutions, National Black Assembly. These were all political movements around education, politics, Africa, and the East and other groups like the East that subscribed to Kawaida philosophy were key organizations within those movements.
And we mustn't forget, the East was strongly involved with when he ran for president, was strongly involved with his campaign, Jesse Jackson, when he ran.
And you can read Black News from the 84 issues of Black News, and you'll see major scholarly articles on why Jesse should run. That was a call. Run, Jesse, run.
Yes.
The African Arts Festival is an institution. I remember when we called it the
African Street Festival.
We called it the African Street Festival. I remember we were on Fulton Street. I remember we were at Boys High. And we've called it different names over the years, but now we call it the International African Arts Festival. That's the official name. But I want everybody to know where it started and how it started and how did it start.
Okay. Well, it started as a fundraiser actually for the school, that's right there on 10 Claver Place, where the East was. It started out as that, and it was called a carnival, an African Street Carnival. And it was awesome right there. And it grew from there. From there, it went to Boys and Girls High School because so many people were coming, and we were out there on the field at Boys and Girls High School. And then Segun is the head, is in the operation manager for it right now, where it's being held at Barry Commodore Park in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn area. So That's where it started, right there on 10 Claver Place in front of the East, the whole block.
And it's going into its 48th year.
Yes.
So this
And
is
I
the
hope you
48th
know
year.
that there are festivals all over this country and
Yes.
all over this world that were influenced by yours. I was in one
Wow.
a few months ago out in California. It blew my mind.
Yes.
I have to. I mean, I didn't want to, you know, like. I'm like, what?
Yes.
It's amazing how when you do one thing, how it ripples all over our community.
yes.
I mean, when I was in California, I really felt the oneness of us.
Oh, yes.
I really felt like how we truly were one people. You know, I wasn't really prepared for what I saw.
Right.
I wasn't prepared for the numbers. I wasn't prepared, but the vibe was the same
Right.
as it is in Brooklyn.
And so that means, you know, all the work that we've done have not been done in vain.
Oh no.
You know, like that ripple effect, like you say, that gives us hope, that, you know, that keeps us inspired to keep doing what we're doing.
Please.
Yes.
Now that brings me to my last question. What do you say is the legacy of the East?
Wow. I say the legacy of the East was educational excellence, cultural dynamic power, and spiritual upliftment. It has to me, those three things, I think it covered, broadly with. It started out, like Segun said, in terms of academics, raising our consciousness academically through having the school, and, you know, the cultural empowerment that came with it through Amiri Baraka, my father, you know, bringing the cultural protocols there through Kawaida. Spiritually, the groups that developed from the East, spiritually, we had Prophet Stokes with the Universal Temple of Thoughts there. And then some people have went more in depth into the Yoruba religion, who were part of the East, into the Akan religion, who are part of the East. So spiritually, you know, it was dynamic in terms of reinvigorating us as African people.
Yes, and where could they have gotten that but at the East? In other words, how many religious institutions will allow another spiritual religious group to develop themselves right there, meet there? Because that was the philosophy. Unity without uniformity. Unity in diversity. Operational unity.
Absolutely.
So we weren't asking everybody to be like us. And, you know, that's one of the beauties of African culture. You see all these religious wars, but in African culture, you're born into we're not trying to force it, they're not trying to force the culture on anybody else. You're either born in it, that's it. That's how you become a member. So these other religions, a lot of times, they're trying to force it on people. And a lot of it, these wars, sometimes, some of the horrible, most things, look at the thing that took place in Sri Lanka.
You
know? Just bombing churches and all that. So, and you know, the Christians, they trying to hold their head up now, but their history, that's how we got here. And that's how the Native Americans were destroyed. A lot of it was religious.
Yes, and that's why we say it, you know, I feel the legacy was more spiritual, was a spiritual uplifting. And because you had the Ethiopians, the reggae crew, you know. The nation, a lot of people from the nation came through, you know, and it was all respectful because it was all about us being.
That's a common denominator. Black people, African people. So you could come, what's your orientation? If you come and you're African people, that was it. And I think that was what, when you asked about the legacy, I'd say it was an exemplary model of African excellence. And so many different realms, so many different areas, you know, and that's what drew people. You'd be surprised the number of people that gravitated to the East some people even broke out of prison and came to the East.
Right.
So there's also people that came from all over the world because they saw Black news in the East and came from all over the
Right.
country, studied, and then went back to do similar kind of work.
And
then-
I hope, I pray that the East will be revived. We're going to keep it alive through the word, through calling it name, by writing about it, by telling folks about it. Like what you're doing, we appreciate you giving us this exposure about the East so people can learn about that and, you know, what the East was about. And, but the actual building of it, we want that to be revived.
Yeah.
And
Now,
this is
why
a good
did it
start.
close?
I'm sorry?
Why did it close?
Well, numerous
several,
reasons.
yes.
You only got a few seconds.
Okay. Internally, people, it was a tremendous sacrifice, and people moved on. They couldn't sustain that lifestyle economically, and we didn't work that out enough so people could stay there, work, go out and work, and come back. You know, we were on COINTELPRO's list, and we also
Right.
made mistakes inside the East in terms of losing our property because of tax issues and things like that. But we were always on a shoestring budget. You follow?
Right.
And so things were always very tight for the members and the workers. And so it's numerous reasons, and we have to read about it, write about it, and talk about it more
And learn from it. Learn from it.
Because-
But the determination, see, when you want to be about Kujichagulia, self-determination, working independently of the government and things, you're going to be economically challenged. And so,
And you're going to be challenged in ways that you might not even know of.
that's
That's
right.
And I don't mind saying that around that same time, drugs were being
Oh, yes.
pumped into our community
Yes.
like there was no tomorrow as they
That's
were
right.
taking the arts out. I got to say that because so many of
Yes.
our kids and elders fell
Our
under that
victims of it.
horrible
Our victims
thing.
of that.
And
yes.
we got to talk more about that too because I believe that played a very big part in the physical collapse of a lot of our
Right.
institutions.
and breaking
but
up
as you
families.
are
Yes.
evidence, and as you testified, they did not destroy us spiritually and culturally, and we are here,
Yes.
and we will grow. And I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Give
you.
us that
Thank
telephone number
you.
one more time quickly before we go off.
718-638-6700, 718-638-6700. The website, www.iaafestival.org, www.iaafestival.org. That's International African Arts Festival.org.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
on
Thank
Link.
you.
And thank you for tuning in. Catch all of their events. Go to their website. Don't miss a thing. And make sure you come to the African Street Festival. Oh, I'm still called the African Street Festival, the International
Yes. And that's
African
fine.
Arts Festival.
Festival this summer in Brooklyn. And it's all over the world. Peace!
Peace.
Thanks for joining us. I'm so happy you came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was
Appreciate
wonderful.
it.